This ladder is broke. You see that that's totally separated. This is flimsy. So here's what the repairs look like on it. They don't give it all. You can walk with the ladder.
Brian's Mobile One.
I searched YouTube for how to fix a fiberglass ladder, and it turns out that the way you fix it is you throw it in the trash. I'll leave a link in the description below. But seriously, I had some fiberglass mat and resin, and I set out to fix a ladder that I borrowed from somebody, and I was going to give it back, but it was so trash that he pulled it out of the trash when he got it and said I should just keep it and throw it in the trash if I don't use it. So bear that in mind. I'm going to fix this ladder, and when it's done I'm going to climb to the top of it and hopefully not fall and break my neck like so many people do with perfectly good functioning ladders. Let's begin. Don't sue me. Don't try this at home. And 3M, they've sent me stuff in the past, but they are certainly not condoning this video nor sponsoring it. So how's that? Let's do this. You can see the crack down this side. This comes from dropping it hard on this side when you set it down on its side. This one's just really hurt. When somebody didn't pay the $300 to $500 for the ladder, they set it down hard because they are just working dudes or something. Anyway, that's how I got this for free. So what I'm going to do is fix it. I've got some wood. The dimensions are close enough that you could fiberglass or Bondo in the rest of it and then fiber fix it. You don't have to screw to it. You just need something to squeeze against. So I've got my fiberglass resin and I've got some fiberglass. It's not going to be pretty, but it's going to be pretty strong. Here, I just basically put it on the corner on the mark and then line up the other one to where they look about the same. Cut that. And what this will do is I'll have one piece and then this is the same angle on both sides, so I'll flip it and use it for the other side and then just cut it for the 90. I'll have two for pointy end to here. It's like right in the middle of the 100. So go to the long pointy end of it again, put right in the middle of the 100, get your bead square. Yeah, that one's just right at the 4. It is right at the 4. So we're good. Can't lose for winning. Let's cut it. Set my blade depth to where it's just about. My laser work on this anymore? Probably not. Battery's dead. Whatever. There's the gimmicks. Let's try one out and see how it does. Does it fill the gap? It does. Alright, so I have fiberglass mat. I need to cut out 6 pieces that are like this. Now this is not your conventional way of doing fiberglass. This is just when you're filling space. So a different purpose entirely. Normally overlap by 2 or 3 inches. I'm gonna go bam, bam, like making cookies. Eyeballing it. And then you just trace it with your scissors. You don't have to draw on it. You don't have to ink anything up. You know that you've got some to spare. And I get the mat out of the way at this point. I want all the grit and extra junk to just wind up on the counter where I can sweep it up so that next time I work with this stuff it's not going to be a mess. There's 1. 2. There goes 3 out of that 1. The next thing you want to do is just cut some strips. If you've ever done fiberglass, you'll find that strips are your best friend for any kind of gap filling. Now I know I'm going to need some on the end of this. I'm going to cut them just shorter than this is. Like that. These you can stuff into cracks or just any old place. You don't have to use them. They were going to go in the trash anyway. When you mix this stuff, mix it in small batches. It says not to mix this whole thing into this at the same time. The whole thing will turn into a big rock, exothermically reacting. Just a little at a time, and the better you mix it and the more hardener you use, typically the better off you are. But if you use a lot of this hardener, it's going to kick off faster, which means you have to work faster. So already have it clean, obviously. Rubbing alcohol is a good way to do that. Soap and water, and then rinse and dry good. Whatever it takes, get it clean. But you see I've got all my mats laid out. They're the right direction. They're ready to just lay on there. Good to go. These I could probably put in an easier, closer place. I typically have my cup in my left hand. I'll even pour it on. So if you run out of this early, use too much hardener. If you have a lot left over, you probably didn't use as much as you could have or should have. I like to have a stick ready to go to cut it at the end, but you pour just a reasonable amount. Say I'm gonna do that much. Back it off until it's just a drizzle. And cut it, wipe it, and that keeps your container clean. Just gotta be careful. Don't use your old stick or anything with activator anywhere near this, just by way of warning. That's a knucklehead thing to do. You can set off a reaction and the whole thing It may not set it hard, but it'll at least ruin it and make it gum up and be a mess. What I try to do is just, you know, like in a little bit like this, you want to cover about half the surface area of this stuff, maybe 2/3. So you can count how many drops that is. That's about the right amount of hardener. I'd go a little bit more than that actually, because it's cold outside. If it's cold, it dries slower. You want to use a lot of hardener so that it just sets good. If you use too much, it can crack. You want to scrape the sides, get everything worked in, get everything with some hardener on it. Work around that little moat at the bottom of the cup, that little circle ditch. I like to mix it for a good 20-30 seconds. Ensure that everything's been exposed to hardener before it leaves the cup. The stuff out of the bottom of the cup that goes last on the outside, if you don't get hardener in it, you've got a sticky spot that just stays sticky. Come on, dry, gosh dang it. Or you can just mix it properly and use enough hardener. The power is yours. You just feel helpless when it won't set. If you smell it kicking off and like fuming and stuff, that's a good sign. That means that the hardener is working. All over down here, of course, we clean it with rubbing alcohol before we do anything. You gotta get enough to get things wet. Basically what I'm trying to do is this block isn't big enough to fill the gap, so I'm filling it with fiberglass resin and fiberglass, and it kind of reinforces things as well. And some down the side of this, kicks and giggles. Alright, see how it looks nice and soaked? That's when you know that you're doing it right. Just stick this in there, press it kind of flat. Like that. And it's kind of spilling down the side. So scoop that up.
I can just zoom in.
Let's get this like that. Do the same thing on the top. Let's get it all wet. You're supposed to have everything overlap 2 or 3 inches. Probably aren't going to get that out of this. Anyway, I'm going to take all that donor mat that I scrape off here. I'm going to shove it down the crack as the filler. Starting to get a little bit of a gel, starting to kick. Yeah, it is. As far as applying this stuff, you want to make sure that the mat is saturated. You see it looks gummy, but you can see the fibers in it, but you don't see any air. To get the air out, you got to poke it, work it, knead it, lay stuff down, like basically pour this stuff out, then put the mat on it, work it in, and then pour some over the top. But if the mat's saturated, it's strong. If it's not, then it's not. You can create weak spots. I took some of this and ran it over the edge like that. It's not necessarily a good idea. You're supposed to overlap everything about 3 or 4 inches. If I had to run mats over the outside of this, it would have been overkill and maybe pokey and more sanding and stuff for me. It probably would have made the repair a lot better. I just want to make it level so I could wrap it in Fiber Fix. And then I was going to wrap around in here. I did wind up laying a bunch of extra mat, like all that extra strips and stuff. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter how many strips you make, it seems like they always come in handy, so have them on hand. You see this is going to dry and be a mess to work with later. Try to knock it down flat with your thing if you can. Ideally, the best thing to do is just soak it so everything wants to lay flat. Anyway, that's how you fix a ladder. This ladder, to replace it, was this much money. I fixed it for this much money. This side turned out awesome. No complaints at all. That's fiberglass on the floor shining out the bottom. This side turned out pretty good, but I got to it just way too late. Still plenty strong enough. It just looks bad. It looks like something slimed. So I've clear coated it and see I've still got a little bit of shine, and I'm stuttering, which means it's probably not ventilating well enough. I should get probably 5 or 10 years out of it, I think, as long as I keep it out of the weather somewhat. Here's what the other side looks like that doesn't have any clear coat. It's just really, I mean, it's almost white. You can see into the fiber a little bit. So here's the difference with the clear coat and without. I love spraying over the name of it. It's just like, it just repeats. That's how you know it's a tall ladder, because I think these come in like 4-foot sections or whatever. There's 3 marks and this is a 12-footer. But this satisfies. It's just fun. Let's watch this. It's like it's like turning up the contrast or clarity on your screen or something. Just fun. I'm not heavily invested in this ladder. I got it for free, and then I spent, say, 1/3 of a $20 can of stuff on it. So I'm into it about $7. This spray paint here is probably $5 or $6. I'll be into this ladder about 15 bucks. I'll get 5 years out of it and basically directly recycle it a little further down the road than it would have gone. I like keeping things out of the trash. Anywhere that I sanded on this, I've gone back and painted over it. You know, I could hit it with a grinder to get all the hard spots. Look at that big old air pocket in there. That's weakness, trying to leave the body. It's actually a rubber band. There's some gassing that came off of it. I put a rubber band around it because this was so weak, I couldn't have it hold in. It would have like blowed it out. Like I say, it satisfies, especially painting feels good. New lease on life. Ta-da! When you're done spray painting something, especially with this, I like this nozzle, love the nozzle, but they clog if you don't do this. So you know it's ready to store. Done. So this is the repaired ladder. You can see it's got, this is the rougher side of the two. The other one, you can see where the wood block was put. You can see the sanding, the fiberglass, the whole bit. I'll show you what it looks like standing on it. Don't give it all. Walk with the ladder. You don't give. Stress and strain them. Now I can't say that this is kosher or approved or anything like that, but it certainly works. Attempt at your own risk. You can see the clear coat, and I'm gonna climb up on top of there. So let's check this out. Items, the ladder and the area ventilator. Now obviously this isn't something that's OSHA compliant, but if you want to fix your own stuff, this is how I did it. So we got Ed, Isaac, and Steve working to put this up. So we got the back wall up and just plugging along.